Welcome back, friends. This is my new Weber Q1200 portable gas grill. We plan to carry this in our RV, and we hope it's going to take the place of my Coleman 2-burner camp stove that I use to cook breakfast on every morning because the wife doesn't like the bacon smell in the RV for some unknown reason. It's also going to replace the little small charcoal grill that I have, and it's also going to replace the small gas grill that we have. Now, there's some places that we go to that have a burn ban in effect, and they won't even let you use charcoal, so you have to use some sort of gas propelled grill that does have an on-off valve on it. So I'm going to be able to get rid of all of those plus my cast iron skillet and replace it with this. And this was waiting for me when I got home today, and just so happens the wife is out of town, and while she's gone I like to cook out of the freezer, dig things out, stuff that needs to be cooked, and I found the steak last night, so what better way to test this thing out but to try and grill a steak, because that's the main thing I want to know. Can I get this thing hot enough to sear these steaks? So as far as I'm concerned, there's not a better way to grill a steak than this right here, unless you're cooking over open wood. But it's not very practical to carry a big green egg with you camping, so we're going to try this. So let's take a look at some of the features of this thing. I think you'll be impressed. First of all, let's talk about Weber for just a minute. This is probably the 4th Weber product I've had over the years. All of them have been great. One thing I like about Weber is you can get parts for these anywhere, and the parts are of high quality. They're not the cheap, crappy charbroiler kind of stuff, although charbroiler has been doing a lot better here lately. But the Weber is just, it's a great product. As far as this line is concerned, they make several different in the Q line. The 2 smaller ones are the Q1000, and this is the Q1200. The main differences is you can get this in a variety of colors. You get a thermometer. It has a larger top lid, so if you're going to be cooking a big bird or something like that, that might be important to you. It also has these fold out tables, which the Q1000 does not have, but I think by looking at both of them, they're on the exact same chassis. They just don't have these tables on them, and you can take these on and off if you don't need them. You got heavy duty cast iron grates. You have this nice D-shaped burner here, and then you have for easy cleaning, you also have this slide out drip pan here, and I just put some foil in mine, that way I don't have to keep buying those reusable pans. One thing that sold me on this particular model here, also you can get a cast iron griddle. Now if you go to their website, the only thing you're going to see is a griddle for the Q1000. So I sent them an email and said, hey, do you make one for the 1200? And they sent back an email and said, no, we don't, sorry. And I said, well, that's too bad, because this is your better seller of the two. And then I sent them another email after I took some measurements off the internet for the cast iron griddle for the 1000, and I said, hey, both of them have 189 cubic inches of grill space, and the measurements to me look exactly the same. Does it fit? He sent back an email, says no, it doesn't. And 2 days later I got one back from a lady in management. She goes, by the way, we double checked that, and yes, this griddle will fit the 1200, and thanks for bringing it to our attention. And I said, well, good, put that on your website because you'll probably sell a bunch of those puppies. So now you know you can get a griddle, which I'm going to be cooking up a bunch of bacon in the morning, so that's going to be important to me. Might be important to you too, I don't know. Both the Q1000 and the 1200 both have a push button electronic ignition. It utilizes a one AA battery, and then you've got your gas controller over here on the side. Now tonight we're going to cook up a steak, and we're going to use some of this fuel because I have a bunch of it left over. But my ultimate plan is to use this adapter here, and we're going to screw it in right here. This is made by Mr. Heater. I'm going to put a quick disconnect right here, and I'm going to use a low pressure hose right off my RV, off the propane tank off the RV, and I'll be able to use my grill. I'll be able to use my little fire pit and other items I want to hook up directly to propane. I'll no longer be able or have to carry some of these, which is great. So I'm going to be eliminating a lot of things, not just some other grills, when I cook this up. Now, what I like about having this temperature gauge on here is because I want to see if I can get this thing hot enough to sear a steak. And I think I can get pretty close, but we'll see how it works tonight. And I'll let you know how it goes here in just a little bit. Okay, we got a propane tank screwed in there. Let's lift the lid. Let's turn our burner on to our control knob to the on position. I can hear the gas. Hit the igniter. Oh, sound like it lit up. Yeah, it's really pretty quiet. So we're going to turn it up a little bit. And we're going to close the lid. And let's just see how hot we can get that thing and how long it takes us to get up there. Well, so far I'm pretty impressed. We got to 500 degrees at 8 minutes. And now we're at 570 degrees at 13 minutes. This thing is whisper quiet. So I wasn't even sure it was running when we first cranked it up. The handle is warm, but it is not hot to the touch. You won't need a glove for it. And it looks like our temperature is continuing to climb. I just want to see how long it's going to take it to get to 600, or I'm just going to see when it peaks out. But I'm trying to get those grates good and hot anyway, so we'll just continue on with this test before we put the steak on. Well, there you have it, girlfriends. 600 plus degrees in 16 minutes. The handle is warm, but I can lift it, no problem. I'm impressed if that thing is actually 600 degrees, and it feels pretty darn hot. Here's our meat that we're going to throw on there, just your basic little steak. Not even sure what that was. It's not marked. I know it's not anything prime because we would have marked it as such. I just used some coarse ground pepper and some kosher salt, coarse grind, and a little bit of garlic powder. That's all I put on these steaks. I don't even put anything on the grates when I put it on here. So these grates should be good and hot. Let's see what we got. Yeah, baby. This is not a very thick steak, so we are going to let it go for, yeah, we're going to do 2 minutes on each side and see how it comes out. Well, while we're waiting here, just to let you know, I take my steaks out of the refrigerator about 30 minutes before I cook them, let them reach room temperature. That's when I season them, just let that seasoning sit on there. Then I bring them out, put them on the grill. As you can see here, we're getting some smoke. There's some vents on this side. There's no vents on the top. It's just coming straight out of both sides there. And this should give us an idea of what we have after we turn this the first time. It looks like it went down to about 550 degrees. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That looks pretty darn good. So we're going to let this go another 2 minutes. And then we're going to turn this thing down and let it cook at a little cooler temperature. Well, we're sneaking back up on our second 2 minute cycle here. If you notice, the temperature dropped a little bit. We're down to about 490, but that's still pretty impressive. I'm going to pull it off after 2 minutes. Normally I would just let that thing cook, but I want to get an idea of just how that thing's cooking, so I'm going to temp it with my thermometer. But I tell you what, I think this is pretty impressive so far. Let's just see what we get. Fortunately, we're experimenting with okay, we're at about 112 degrees. So we're going to put it back on, close the lid, and I'm going to reduce the heat down to about half. They've got a mark here on the knob, and we're going to let it go for 1 minute on each side and see how that works for us. Okay, I admit I chickened out. Since this thing is holding pretty good temperature at about 450, even on half throttle there, I just went 30 seconds on each side, and we're going to temp it one more time just to see what I got. I don't want to overcook it. You can always put this back out on the grill, but you can never take away the temperature. Okay, it's about 132. Probably a little, it's going to cook a little more. on its own. Probably a little more well done than I like. I like my steaks medium rare, but look at that. I think this little Weber Q1200 is going to be muy buenos for me. I know I can sear a steak on it now. I know it's not going to taste as good as my big green egg or if I'm cooking over wood, but that's okay. For the convenience and all the things it's going to work just great for me. I'm going to experiment with a little firebox in here where I can put some wood chips and maybe get some smoke flavor in there, but I think this is going to work great. So let me know if you've got a Q1200, had any experience with it. Give me some tips because I'd love to see what you have to say. So there you have it, folks, from the Goat Ranch. You guys be safe, and we hope to see you down the road. Adios.